Well, we just had a break and Mary needed to have a cry, so she's gone and done that, which is great. And we'll get started again on this issue of faith, because it's the issue of faith that we wanted to discuss a fair bit about, and the understanding, having a good understanding about what faith is and how we can develop faith is an essential part of developing our relationship with God. So what I wanted to perhaps begin with this issue of faith is how our concept of God will determine, and it's not our intellectual concept of God, but rather our emotional concept of God, that is going to determine how much faith we have to actually develop a longing or a desire to receive God's love. Mm-hmm. So the problem that we face is this: at the beginning we have no faith in God, we have no concept that God has love to give, we have no concept that God even exists most of the time, we have no personal feeling that God exists sometimes. We might have a personal feeling God exists, but we've got no idea how to connect with God generally, even if we do have a feeling that God exists. We might have a whole heap of false beliefs about God, a whole heap of false beliefs about love, a whole heap of false beliefs about what is truthful or what is the best thing to do, a whole heap of false beliefs about humility. And these, of course, are going to colour what we do with faith. Mm. So, rather than trying to individually get rid of every one of those things that I've just mentioned, our false concept of God, our false concept of faith, our false concept of ourselves, our false concept of truth, and all of the untruths that we've imbibed over our life, we can actually put all of that aside for a moment and we can focus primarily on developing faith. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a few key things we need to have faith about, and they all involve God. You are not going to have a longing for God when you don't have any kind of even intellectual concept of God that is in harmony with the truth about God. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I give some examples, if I don't have the faith that God is merciful and gracious and does not have anger, then I will believe probably that God would be more like my parent, like my father perhaps, who was angry at times and often was not merciful, mm-hmm. and often was not gracious with me as a child. Now, while I hold on to those particular concepts I don't have to release those concepts about my father, my earthly father, but I do have to see logically that God can't be that person before I'll develop any longing to actually want God's love in my life. So in other words, while I'm holding on to this concept that God is just a wrathful and punishing God, just like my daddy was, mm-hmm. I am actually going to not have a desire, a longing to receive God's love in my soul while I'm holding on to that concept. Mm-hmm. I've got to give up this concept inside of myself somehow.
So when you say give it up, do I have to... What does that mean?
Well, and you can ask as many other questions you want in it as well, darling. When I say give it up, I don't have to give up the concept about my father, that he was wrathful and that he was sometimes ungracious and he was sometimes unmerciful with mm-hmm. me. Mm-hmm. What I need to do is give up the concept that God's the same as my father, in order to actually have a sincere longing for God's love to enter. I need to at least see the potentiality logically that God is not the same as my father.
So I'm opening myself to possibilities initially.
Exactly. I'm humble enough to open myself to the new concept about God mm-hmm. that I didn't have before. You see, and unfortunately with a lot of the holy books of the Bible, the Quran and the Bible, most of the holy books on earth, they explain the concept of a wrathful God too. So I'm actually going to have to confront my belief in the Bible and my belief in the Quran to do this. Mm. Because I'm going to have to see at some point that no, God is only a God of love. Why would I want love from somebody who's not loving? If I believe God is not loving and God's a God of wrath and potentially destroys people, and in the Bible and the Quran there are examples of God doing that without there even really being a good reason. And that, of course, causes me to have a lot of fear about God rather than desire for God.
Yeah.
And of course, there is a Christian concept that I must have a fear of God. In fact, I just answered last week an email from a chap who said that I should fear God. And I'm saying, no, I don't fear God. I don't fear God at all. Why would I ever fear God? God's a God of love. I don't need to fear anybody who really loves me, ever. Mm-hmm. So these concepts will need to be at least challenged in my mind before I will engage a process of longing for love from the being who I believed was all of these things, that are untrue. If I let myself feel, no, God is a God of love. No, God doesn't want to punish me every time I make a mistake. God knows that God's laws sort out all of that. God just feels compassion for me when I make a mistake. Like, God's merciful. So when I am repentant, mercy comes from God, right? These are all principles I need to start to understand. And this is why I constructed what is called the Lord's Prayer, but it's been vastly modified in the Bible. Mm-hmm. But the real Lord's Prayer, I constructed it in such a way to actually expose in the individual their false concept of themselves and God.
Mm-hmm. And so what you're describing here is the beginning of faith, or this is what faith is initially. It's opening
just a logical intellectual concept.
A logical intellectual concept, and I also heard you mention we're opening our heart based on that concept. Is that right? We're
deciding to take the risk of our heart based on logic, based on the fact that we have a logical intellectual concept of God, which is different to our own emotional concept of God, and also different to our own emotional concept of our current human parents. So what we're doing is we're saying, right, I realise inside of me I do believe all these bad things about God, right? I believe that God's going, I'm angry with God and I'm upset about this and I'm upset about all these different things. And I need to understand that this is in my soul. I do need to. And I need to allow the expression of these particular things that are in my soul, if they're ever going to be released. I need to have the humility to release them. However, I need to also hold on, at least initially, intellectually, to the concept that God is different to the person I feel God to be. And I feel God is wrathful, and sometimes I might even want God to be wrathful. There's a lot of people on the planet who want God to be wrathful. They want God to come and punish everybody else other than them, right? So they want God to be wrathful. And I'm going to have to, at some point, give up that concept if I really want to continue receiving divine love from God. To receive divine love from God, I have to have a belief that is at least in harmony with the love being received. And if my belief is that God's not a God of love, then I can't have a longing for God's love. If my belief is that God's going to be punishing to me, then I can't receive divine love under those circumstances, because my concept that I'm holding on to with my will is in direct disharmony with the love itself from entering me. So
one of the things on that point that I had written down here was that faith is believing a right viewpoint of God.
Exactly.
It's having a belief or exercising our desire even to believe the truth about God, which is good things about God, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We must exercise our intellect at least to see the logic and to see the truth that God exists in the manner that we are not accustomed to, but in a new manner, God is different to the person we believe God to be. We need to understand that. And if we don't ever understand it, and we're not even willing to intellectually see the difference, then we're never going to open our heart to the difference. So to give an example, we get a lot of Orthodox Christians emailing us, condemning me and condemning all of the teachings that I'm teaching, and stating to me categorically over and over again that God is a God of wrath, he's going to punish the wicked and he's going to punish me, right? Now, of course, I don't believe that because I have a relationship with God and I know God's never going to punish me for my actions taken that are in harmony with love. So God is never going to punish me for that. And God's not going to punish me for mistakes I make unless the mistakes are out of harmony with love, then the laws of God correct me. And I don't even see that as a punishment. I just see it as correction, where God's correcting me from my mistakes. I don't see that God's punishing God under those circumstances. I see that God's just providing me correction here, providing me correction there. And if I'm willing to accept the correction, then I'll have a completely different experience with God. But they're telling me that God's going to punish me and destroy me, and I've got to repent, and if I don't repent, and then they tell me all the beliefs I should accept about God, which are all about God being a God of wrath. In fact, the whole idea that God's going to destroy me for making a mistake is all about a God of wrath. Now, this is why they can't receive love, because they have a false belief about God in that moment. And in that moment, they're not acting in harmony with love. Because if they acted in harmony with love, they wouldn't act in harmony with this false belief. They'd realise the truth. Hang on a sec. What I'm telling Jesus is that he's going to be destroyed. Now, of course, they don't believe I'm Jesus. They believe I'm Alan John Miller and a usurper. But they're telling Alan John Miller that he's going to be destroyed for being loving and telling truth and preaching concepts of love. In fact, one Christian this week told me that every single time I talk about love, it's pointless because I'm not Jesus. And I claim that I am. And because I'm claiming that I am, all of the other works that I do are pointless. And that's what he told me. And I'm going, yeah, you don't understand God at all. Because everything is about love for God. My desire to share about love is about love. My motivations are loving. So I'm not afraid of God under those circumstances. Why would I ever be afraid of God? If God's a God of love and all God does is ever correct me, all I do is wait for correction. And this is not the correction that I need to take, because he's telling me that God's not a God of love. He's telling me God's somebody else that I know God isn't. Now, while that man who did that accepts God as being a wrathful God and accepts that God's going to destroy the wicked at some point in the future, which is not true, and it's never going to be true, that man prevents himself from receiving more love. His belief is out of harmony with the person who's giving the love. And as such, the love can't flow. So he needs to have some faith. He needs to give up his beliefs in the Bible being God's word on this matter. And he needs to accept that, no, God's not a God of wrath. God's not a God who's going to just punish us for every mistake we make. God is not vindictive. God's not going to torment me in hell. God's not going to place me in hell so that Satan can torment me either, by the way. Right? God is a God of love. And if I go to God with that underlying feeling in my soul, now I've got the ability to receive some of that love. And this is where we must have faith that God is different to the person that we've been taught God is.
And if we take an example, say, from Joanne blogs, you've given an example there of where someone believes in a very angry, punishing God, and that's actually not basing their faith in anything truthful.
Exactly.
A lot of other people might feel that God is say that they believe, no, God is loving.
They say God's loving, and they say they believe God's loving.
Yeah, but they feel they themselves are not good enough yet.
They're not lovable.
They're not lovable. Yeah. Now, what I find interesting about that belief, which is, I'm bringing this example because...
something you've felt yourself.
Something that I've felt myself. Is that we're basing our faith on the fact that we believe God is loving. It's just I'm the problem, which actually turns into a reflection onto God, doesn't it?
Totally.
It's saying that God only loves perfect people or worthy people.
Exactly. Or people that don't make mistakes.
So it turns into a faith that is based on untruth about God.
Well, it's an untruth about love too. That love can't be given to anybody who's not perfect. That's the belief, really, that you've got to try to be perfect and then you'll get love. And I can understand why people have that, because that's the belief they have with their daddies and mummies, right? That was the condition under which they received love when they were growing up. But that's not the condition under which we receive love from God.
And it's actually, so then it actually prevents us acting in faith, asking for love, because we're actually trying to make ourselves perfect before we ask for the love.
If I have a belief in my heart that I have to be perfect before God will love me, then I'm not going to desire God's love when I'm not perfect. That's the sad thing about it.
Yeah.
But it's when we're not perfect that we need more of God's love.
And where we end up in this self-reliant thing we talked about earlier, where we're trying to fix ourselves before we even ask, even act in faith.
And remember, we've said right at the beginning of this conversation that fixing ourselves is a long, drawn-out, natural love process. And allowing God's love to transform our soul is a short thing that deals with the causes. So while I'm exercising my will by saying, well, no, I've got to be perfect and not make mistakes before God's going to love me, I am actually on the natural love path. Even though I might believe in all of the concepts of divine truth, I might believe that God is love, and I might believe that because God's love, all of these different things are true, and all those kind of beliefs that are basically just intellectual at this point in my head. They're not in my heart, because I haven't received divine love to know them in my heart. And because of all of that, I'm just still on the natural love path. I'm still engaging this process where I believe I have to rely on myself to get into a condition before God's going to love me. No. If you truly understood God's love, you'd understand that God already loves you right now, no matter how dark and evil and whatever it is else that you've done in your life, and no matter how bad everyone else thinks you are, God loves you. And God's waiting to give you this love, but is reliant on your just opening your soul to receive it. And while you hold on to this concept that you're not good enough, you can't receive it. Because that's not God's concept of you. To receive divine love, I have to be in harmony with the truth of God's concept of me. So
and you just that last
even intellectually
statement you said, that's what I was going to say.
Exactly.
Because I've heard that statement initially and I've thought, okay, I have to get into harmony with how God feels about me. Emotionally, I have to do that before I'll receive the love. But that's skipping over faith, isn't it?
It is skipping over faith, but also it is true that you will have to release some emotions in order to have a sincere desire to ask for love when you feel bad about yourself. So my suggestion to a person who feels bad about themselves is, feel bad about yourself, have a good cry about how bad you are, but understand with your mind at least that God will still give you love even though you're bad, if you ask for it.
And I suppose my experience is that if I act in faith and ask for the love, then all of the feelings that I have that I don't deserve it, or that I'm not worth it, or I'm not perfect enough yet to receive it, they actually come up more profoundly and intensely than if I just try to feel it on my own and get up the courage to act in faith and ask God for love.
Yes.
So it seems like using our will to in faith seems to...
Even what you said, like get up the courage to ask for God's love.
Yeah,
that is a blasphemy towards God in a way. Because it's a belief about God that says that we need to be afraid of God somehow. So it itself is a statement of an error that exists in the soul and that needs to be released. Now, when you receive some of the love from God, you realise there was no risk. There was no risk
That's
doing
right.
it.
For me, the most scary thing would be to ask for love and not receive it, because I would view that as something about myself. But that's actually skipping over the truth that God always is going to love me if I ask for it sincerely, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you think you're asking for it and you don't receive it, right?
Yeah.
Which is a possibility.
Sure.
A lot of people do that.
Right.
They think and they don't receive it. And then the emotion comes up, I'm not worthy to receive it. Understand that while that's an emotion you need to feel, that it's not the truth from God's perspective. God feels that the way God feels is, if you ask me for love, I'm going to give you some. That's how God feels, right? I have to wait till you ask because you have to exercise your will, right? And I can't give it to you when you haven't exercised your will, because that would be forcing you, and I don't want to force you. My love will never force you. But if you ask, I will always give it. That's the underlying belief, right?
So you're really saying there's two categories of people. People who think they're asking and not receiving. And then there's people where I don't even ask.
They're not even asking.
Because I just feel like I'm not going to get it.
Exactly.
Because I'm already judging myself so much.
And of course you can't get it under those circumstances because you're not asking.
Exactly.
That's the only reason why. It's not because you're bad. It's because you're not asking.
It's a sort of like two camps who don't receive God's love, is the ones who never actually ask, and the ones who tell themselves they're asking, but they're
arrogant and proud, and they've got a heap of blockages which are out of harmony with love that cause them to not receive.
Yeah.
So there are, and if we analyse why people don't receive divine love, both of those are the reasons. They're the only two reasons, in fact, why we don't receive divine love. One is because we have a feeling inside of us that we won't ask. That's one reason why. And the other reason why is because we think we're asking and we're just being arrogant, and we've got heaps of blocks that we're not being open to. That's the only other reason why we would not receive divine love when we ask. So which one is it? That's the question we need to ask ourselves when we ask for divine love, or we think we're asking for divine love and not receiving it.
Just stop for a second again.
Yeah. And I just feel that there's still quite a lot of misunderstanding about how the love transforms the soul, right? And that's why we brought up this message today. Because we want to get across the concept that the importance of developing faith in God, that God's nature is good, that God doesn't, that at least even here I have the concept. God's nature is good, God's nature is good, God's nature is good, And then if I have an emotion which says, I hate you, God, then feel that. Go and feel that. I hate you, God. Bash, 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 bang, bang, let it go. So that after that you can have a sincere longing for the love to enter you, because you here understand God's nature is good, at least. But a lot of people are telling themselves, like they believe here God's nature is good. Here they feel anger or hatred towards God. They don't release the emotion because they feel it's a negative emotion and it's bad and they'll get punished for it and it's wrong. And
God already knows.
God already knows, yeah. So the reality is that we have this concept of God that is flawed so much. It's really deeply flawed. And as a result of the deep, and we can include this, as a result of the deep flaws that we have in our concept of God, which is about faith, a lack of faith in God, we have these deep flaws. So because we lack faith, we do not engage prayer. And prayer is the thing that opens our soul to the reception of love. Prayer is the longing towards God, the desire for God's love to enter my soul. When I lack faith in God, I don't have a longing for God. I don't pray. I won't pray. I'll refuse to pray. And that's the problem, is that most of us are refusing to pray, and then we're going, I'm on the divine love path. How can you be on the divine love path when you're refusing to pray and you're not receiving divine love? You're on the natural love path. You're not on the divine love path. When you're on the divine love path, you'll want this relationship with God as your number one priority. That's why I said in the first century, very first commandment, when I was asked what are the things that you would say to us as the most important things for our life? Love God with your whole heart, your whole soul, your whole mind, your whole strength. Have a concept of God as to why you would love God as well. Like, don't believe that God is wrath. Don't believe that God is punishing. Don't believe any of these things. They're all false. And every time you hold on to the belief of these things, you are not going to pray. You are not going to have a longing for God. You're better off, if you feel angry with God, go out and have a bash and yell and scream and swear at God. Get it out of your system. Get it out of your feelings, so that you can go to God with a sincere feeling, I do want to receive love from you because I know that you're not the God that I imagined you to be. Yeah.
Would you say that any time we just really open ourselves sincerely towards God, whatever feeling we encounter is going to be the block to why we're not even asking or praying?
Exactly, yeah.
But a lot of us even have fear of doing that, don't we?
Yes.
We have fear of...
So emotional processing, if we can call it such a thing, is actually very simple. When I long for God's love to enter, there'll be a fear that comes up or some other false belief that comes up inside of my soul, and there's the emotion. pretty easy. Feel that one, and you'll have some more of God's love enter you, take away some of these causes that are inside of you, and then those causes won't motivate future events as long as you live in harmony with the love that exists inside of you already, as long as you choose to act. Now, if you choose to act in fear, then of course you're not living in harmony with the love that's there already. So work through your fear. Let yourself feel your fear so that you don't honour your fear, you honour the love. You honour the love even though you're afraid. Right? That's what a person who receives divine love does. A person who doesn't receive divine love honours their fear every single time. Whether, whatever love they have, they honour their fear every single time. A person who receives divine love and is sincere in their relationship with God receives divine love, feels the love motivating them down a certain point, feels the fear get triggered, and then of course they go, okay, what's wrong here? Not the love, it's the fear. That's the thing I need to throw out here. So I let myself feel it, I experience it, throw it out the window by experiencing it. Allow yourself to experience the fear, allow yourself to shake and do whatever you need to experience the fear, and hold on to the love. Hold on to the love that you've received. Base every decision that you make upon the love that you've received.
And even if we haven't yet received the love on the faith that we've just been discussing?
Yes, base your decisions on the faith of the truth. God's not a punishing God. God is always loving. God is not a wrathful God. God is not wanting to hold all my mistakes against me. God wants to forgive me, right? I just need to enter the state where that's possible. That's all I need to do. That's my will. That's the exercise of my will. That's me having faith in God's nature, right? I need to have faith in God's true nature. I need to believe, or at least intellectually start accepting the truth about God. And whenever I notice an emotion in me that's completely opposite of that, I need to experience it. I need to get rid of it. I need to release it. If I release that emotion, now my longing will be strong. So if I'm angry with God, instead of suppressing it, go out and bash something and bash it and swear and scream at God and carry on for as long as it takes for you to get rid of that emotion. Don't sit on it. Don't try and hold it at bay because you're afraid that God will punish you further for expressing it. Don't do any of those things. Let go of the emotion so that you can come to God and feel like you want love from God. So you feel like you want it. And if you have an emotion that I'm not worthy, now you know that's not true. Here you might know it's not true. You're being told it's not true. It is not true. God feels that every one of her children are worthy to receive love, no matter whether they're in the deepest, darkest hells or the pinnacle so far of reception of God's love. God knows that every one of them is deserving the same amount of receiving God's love. So if we know that, at least intellectually, we won't stop asking God for more love just because we feel bad about ourselves. We won't do that. And we won't ask God for more love because we feel bad about ourselves. We won't do that either. We'll ask God for more love because we have a strong desire to receive it. We want this relationship with God established. This is what it means to have faith in the truth about God. This is the kind of faith we need to develop. Now, obviously, as we receive more love and the causes of any disharmonious things within us get released as a result of receiving the love dissolving those particular causes, then of course we'll have more faith after the process begins. Yep. But right at the beginning, we probably have none whatsoever. And that's something we must work on and establish. Learn of the truth about God. The truth about God is completely different to what the world's religions are teaching you. The truth about God is completely the opposite, in fact, of what the world's religions are teaching you.